Hi, welcome back. Well, welcome back to me too. I just want to say hello. I've been able to return after my pregnancy.
Excuse me, everyone. I'm a mother.
We've had a healthy baby girl who is definitely asleep right now next to me, and she's adorable. But I want to come up and talk to you guys about kind of what I did right before my pregnancy moved into labor and I gave birth. And I was kind of in this state of wondering when she would be here, and I had made oracles the day before she was born because I was so kind of nervous and going, oh, is this me? Is this something that I should be doing? Like, what can I do to help bring her into the world safely and within the time span that we were hoping for her to come through? So I was very worried about inducing.
This is fine. I'm okay.
Really wasn't interested in that, but I really hoped that she was coming out at the right time, and she did great. So I just want to talk to you guys about this and kind of show you my little mini oracles that I made, talk a little bit about how I made them using the book, I think it's called, what is it called? Mothering from Your Center. But I wanted to just kind of come in and talk about how I made these in consideration of the pelvic bowl and the feminine power of kind of opening up and creating space through birth in a time where you are very fragile, but you're very open to being ready to bring in this new life and this new space. And a lot of mothers, especially me, I'm sure you've experienced this question of, am I doing anything? What should I be doing? What is the next thing that is, coming in? And in that space of waiting for her to come and knowing that, okay, I'm nervous now because she's a day over her due date, and like, how long is this going to last? I took a nice warm bath and I made these oracle cards that represent parts of myself and parts spiritual and ancestral. And it was very important for me to kind of draw these oracles and kind of assess what I was dealing with, because it turned out it was really just a matter of timing. She was born literally the night after I made these.
Hello?
Not even 24 hours, to be real with you guys. And I'm going to share these as printables, but I wanted to kind of just make a video and talk about them right now because it was something that I made in a moment of crisis that really helped me. And although it wasn't crisis to the point where I was like freaking out and like losing it was crisis in the fact that I knew that there was something that was going to happen, but I literally could do nothing about it, which really, like, gosh, anybody with anxiety, welcome to my world. So having cards and tarot has been a big tool for me in addressing anxiety and how to move through it and getting into the next phase. So having these cards in connection with my tarot was like another extra version of oracle that I could not buy even if I wanted to, but it was exactly what I needed at exactly the time that I needed it. And I really want to encourage others to make their own oracles when something like this happens. It's kind of hard to come up with stuff that will resonate, that will give you what you need, but in this way I would suggest using AI to just brainstorm, hey, what is a list of like really simple things that I need to know about or I need to list out for this oracle that will help me move through this space. So in that way, you're kind of removing the work that you need to produce the tools that you need to help you in that moment. And I find it very useful. And I will admit, I haven't used them since we've gotten back. She is a month old now, but it's been very useful for me. And the book Mothering from Your Center has also been very helpful for me. I stopped right after it spoke about birth and birthing right before she was born because I didn't want to go through the whole book and assume that my birth was going to be perfect and then be disappointed if something did happen. Thankfully, nothing happened, and she was born uncomplicated and unmedicated. So like that's a big win for me. It's really hard for me to accept how strong and how difficult the process of labor that I went through was, because I went through it quickly. Other than the actual labor, I really wasn't doing very much. I was really kind of just moving through the waves of pain, like, okay, this is where we are, this is where we're next, right? So I personally find it crazy that it only took about 9 minutes for me to bring my baby into the world, when it takes women hours sometimes. And I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful for that. And I found it very interesting to have people come up to me and tell me how uncomplicated and simple our birth was. And I'm so grateful for that. Here, I'm crying because there's so many things that could have gone wrong, and there's so many women who have experienced something that has gone wrong. But like, this helped a lot, and I knew that everything was going to be okay because I had my tools and my spirituality with me. I was able to communicate with my deities and make sure that everything was flowing the way that it was expected. And I really suggest prayer beads for anyone who has come from the Catholic faith and had some kind of connection to Mary and the Rosary, because I made my own prayer beads about a year ago now, and having those beads were definitely a huge tool for me moving through this final phase of going from pregnancy to labor to birth. And that was just such a gift to be able to have that and know that they were there and know that I had these things. And yeah. Additionally, I found it very interesting that I did all this prep work and I was so ready for her to show up. But when she finally did, all of the prep work, all of the little crystals and sprays, all the things that I thought that I needed, that I wanted to bring with me to like process through the moment, I did not touch and or use them at all, simply because it was such a smooth, fast birth that there was nothing that I needed. We were there, and we were making the thing happen. I don't know how to explain that any better. And by the time I got home, I barely remembered where they had been, because I was just so wrapped up in this orb of excited, tired birth. And maybe in the last week or two, I finally dropped off that kind of like adrenaline high of getting all of this stuff done and being able to be in a more relaxed state. So I would love to talk more about this. I'm not really sure what I can explain about, but I can at least start with these oracle cards. I'll probably have a full description and a full post kind of explaining what I did and what the levels of these things are in conjunction with mothering from your center, because she shows this really beautiful kind of pelvic bowl kind of layers, where you are you have your bowl, and then you have your mind, and then you have your body, and then you have your spirit. And I felt like that was a really good way to explain that, because in each of those ways, mind, body, spirit, you're connected to your ancestors, you're connected to your past, your physical past, and then you are connected to the higher, right? Where am I going, and what am I doing, and what is my next step, right? And so these cards specifically speak about, sacral power, action, right? So how are you acting through your days and your body, and what are you doing to present this space and the time to bring in this child? Creation itself, like what are you doing to draw, to make food, to eat something lovely, to watch something nice, right? That to me is all creation. The higher, the spiritual expansion, how does that speak to your mind? How does that speak to your body and your pelvic bowl? And then kind of like as an oracle, right, you have your ups and your downs. So what are your limiting blockages? What is things that are just sitting there that you know that you have, but you really genuinely have to do the work to move through it? What roles are you kind of clinging to or are you desiring, right? Like the role of caretaker, the role of breadwinner, are you able to let that go and just be a receiving space? Or if you're in a receiving space, now that you're done with that, how are you moving through to be an actionable space so that way you can bring this child into the world, right? Mental patterns, which is separate than the blockages and limitations, because mental patterns can also be good things, but they're not always good things. They just are, right? It is a pattern that you push yourself through or you walk through. I find this funny. My dog drooled on this the same night I made them. So what is your consciousness and what are you choosing to do, right? The choice of repair. What is that choice that you're actively moving through? Desire. What is your desire right now? Like listening to your body's needs, listening to your instinctual desires, right? For me, it was really hard for me to accept my cravings because I'm so used to being able to just say, I want this and I want that, and not need to address the craving, really just like walk into it, right? And so it was funny looking at myself over that time period where I was just eating a hell ton of cheese and bacon and avocado and it was just all of that all the time, right? And I had this craving for Taco Bell mild sauce. Anybody have that? And that was my thing. I wanted a hell ton of Taco Bell mild sauce. The divine creation, the Anima, like that part of your soul, the Anima, which is pulling in this new soul and bringing it out, right? So I think that's really beautiful. The ancestral healing, right? It's been time and time, moving forward. What has your mother's or your father's mothers been dreaming of that you are finally doing with that birth, right? Like I feel like that was something that was really coming up with me doing that. And additionally, I was so surprised that in the 2 weeks after she was born, I constantly was seeing and hearing the Bible quote. I don't remember what the number is, but it's, before I formed you in your mother's belly, I knew you. And that was so powerful to me right after she was born to keep hearing that, because that meant that for me, that meant that, in the form of time and space, my daughter has always been my daughter, and here she is now with me, which is something that time could only give me.
Yikes.
Expression, what are you doing to express yourself? Communication, decisions, like what choices are you making, and what are you like, are you just allowing the pregnancy brain to like ruin everything you're doing right now, like stuff like that? Or are you, consciously looking at how you're expressing yourself? You're consciously walking yourself through things that could be difficult, but allowing them to be easy and just saying, you know what, that's not my fight, and this is the way that I'm going right now. And that for me has been always like the most important thing. Ancestral presence. I lost my grandmother a month before I became pregnant. And I am so sure that there are grandmothers in my house, probably my husband's grandmother and my grandmother, that my baby can see, because she sits here and she just stares over my shoulders like she sees somebody. And it would not surprise me that my grandmothers are watching over her, because why wouldn't they, right? Emotional balance. Being able to emotionally balance, and really, as I'm crying, totally unbalanced.
Why are you crying?
Being able to recognize when you're dysregulated is probably the hardest thing for me, especially because I came from a household where dysregulation was very normal, and having regulation has been such a challenge for me to really address and say, yes, I am doing this, and I am in this space right now, or hey, I am really out of whack and I need 20 minutes to whack myself into the way that I am balanced and better. I think that was probably my biggest challenge through my Saturn return, is really finding that regulation and regulating between independent self-interest and turning that into communal, family, group momentum, right? I'm not only looking out for me, which is what my family and my survival story taught me. I am now looking out for my family and the people that I love and the things that I want to do, and turning that kind of fierce independence into fierce momentum for the love of the people in my life has been a huge eye-opener for me, because I felt very untethered and lost once I moved away from my home state, and I was just kind of experiencing the world as it was. And I say this to my husband a lot. It's hard because we're family people with not great family members. And that doesn't mean all of the family members. I'm not saying that at all. That just means that a lot of our immediate family members have been challenging to grow up with and find our space and our regulation with them. And I really don't think I was ever regulated until I actually left my home state, and I actually was able to start looking at how I was doing the things that I was doing and why I was doing what I was doing. Well, thank you for this emotional moment with me. I don't think I've really cried like that. Normally I try not to cry, but I'm gonna be a little vulnerable with you guys and let you have this because it's important. And what's more feminine than a little tears? Releasing to receive. You know what I mean? So I will probably be putting this set up for free download very soon, along with links to the book that I used. I'm still reading it, so I'll probably have some more to say as we move through it. But these were an excellent tool, and I highly encourage anyone going through a difficult time that if they really need specific advice or specific guidance, to make their own oracles and use them in their day-to-day, what they need. And by doing this, you will feel more in touch with yourself, more in touch with your spirit, and hopefully more in touch with the world around you. So this is me, Jenny the Witch Jenny, or Mati Jenny. So I hope you guys have a great time, and I will talk to you later. Bye.